We're coming on in. Hello, 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 everybody. Hello, hello. Come on in, everybody. Come on in, and welcome, welcome, welcome to the Hey Bae Show. Come on in, come on in. We're saying hey bae to all my baes out there. Y'all come on inside. Come on in the room. Y'all come on in. I want to make sure y'all can hear me well. Hey sis. Oh, my sis, one of the first ones in the room. Hey babe. Yes indeed. Hey babe. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in the room. Once you get in here, hit me with a I'm in, or hey sis, I got that. She said you look just like your mama. Yes, I do. I see it more and more every day. And I'm also finding more and more of her gray hairs in my head too. Yes, indeed. Come on in the room, y'all. Come on in the room. We want y'all in here. I'm so excited about tonight, and I'm so excited about tonight's conversation that we're talking about on tonight. So come on in. I want to give some people some time to come in. We want y'all in here. Hey, yes, tag somebody once you get in here. Absolutely. Once you get in, tag somebody. Share this post with somebody as well, or this link with somebody so they can come on in as well and join us in this show. We're talking about desperate times, calling for desperate measures, y'all. And listen, we are in some desperate times right now. So that means we got to do some desperate measuring. So I want y'all to come on in the room. Everybody, come on in, come on in, come on in. And welcome to the Hey Bae Show. I'm so excited to have so many coming in. I'm so excited. Let me say, while we're having everybody come on in, I'm so excited about last week's show as well. Last week got over 300 viewers. I'm so excited about that. That means a lot to me. So thank you all for your support. Thank you all for sharing with others who needed to hear. Thank you all for even listening, even if you went and you listened again. I really, really appreciate you. Hey, Bussy, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's them jeans, girl. You know, we all got them. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you guys are coming in. And again, thank you so much for sharing with everyone. Thank you so much for hitting people up. Once you come on in the room, go ahead and share with somebody, get somebody in. Hey, Lisa, nice to see you, babe. Thank you so much for coming in. I greatly appreciate you guys. Listen, keep in mind that as we always talk about Hey Bae, as I'm welcoming you into the Hey Bae Show, thank you so much for coming in. And remember, Hey Bae is something that was coined by my mama. She called everybody Bae. Everybody was Bae to her. And everybody was either Hey Bae, or when she left your presence, it was always love you, Bae. And so I wanted to do something in tribute to her, so that every time we come on here and greeting somebody with a Hey Bae, that's in there as well. And keep in mind that that BAE, and we're spelling Bae, BAE, because that BAE is standing for before all else, okay? Before all else. That's you before all else, before anything else goes on, before anything else takes place, before anybody else comes in the picture. We want you to take care of you. You are Bae, okay? And we want you to take care of you and make sure that you're okay, because I say again, as I've said in every show, if you are not good, and if you are not healthy, and if you are not stable, then how can you be good for somebody else? We've often been taught all through school and even in church, sometimes we taught that you take care of everybody else and you are the last person that gets taken care of, because it's supposed to be a selfless act of care from you to someone else. But let me say to you, you can't care for someone better than you can care for yourself, okay? The best gift that you can give someone is giving them a healthy you. Okay, so that's why you are Bae. That's why you are before all else, because you are the best gift that you can give someone. But if you are not stable up here, if you got a whole bunch of stuff going on up here, if you are physically and emotionally and mentally ill, then how can you be great for somebody else? And it just puts it where you're tacking more onto your plate than what needs to be on there. So absolutely, please make sure you are bae. Make sure you are before all else. Look yourself in that mirror every morning and look yourself in that mirror every night before you go to bed. Give yourself what you need. Pour into you if ain't nobody else pouring into you, okay? You can be your own pitcher, baby, and pour into you what you need so you can have your get up and go that you can get through the day. And that's a part of what we're talking about tonight as well. So again, come on in the room. Let me know you're in here. Thank you so much for sharing. Ashley, hey, babe. I love you, babe. Thank you so much for coming in. Share this with somebody as we're about to dive into desperate times. Call for desperate measures. And I am so excited about this topic. Let me tell you one reason why I'm so excited about this topic is because I am even myself in a desperate time, okay? So when you're in a desperate time, it calls for a desperate measure. And usually whatever you talk about and whatever you give to somebody else, whatever you minister to somebody else, it needs to register at home first so that you can be able to give somebody else what they need, okay? Yes, indeed, before all else. Yes, ma'am, Yvette, you are before all else, baby. And you have to make sure you keep yourself right here, so that as you give to everybody else, then they can be able to receive what you got in between, if you know what I mean, okay? So if you are empty, you can't give nobody anything else, okay? Yes, desperate times calls for desperate measures. I'm so excited for everybody that's in the room tonight. And we're going to go ahead and start diving in to this lesson as well. I wanted to give some other people some time to come in, but you know, sometimes we have some late stragglers coming in, but that's all right. Y'all take y'all time and go ahead and come on in as well. And we do have, they'd love for me to sing at the end too, so I'm going to try not to talk myself out of doing the singing at the end as well. But again, desperate times call for desperate measures. Can anybody out there tell me what you feel desperate means? What is desperate to you? What does it mean to you to be in desperation? Let me see some kickback there. Oh, Yvette is your sister. Oh, awesome. Okay. Hey, sis. Thank you. Yvette is your sister from New York. Well, thank you so much for viewing from New York with us, Yvette. I greatly appreciate that. Awesome. Let's see, 911. Lisa, that's what you're saying desperation is 911? Absolutely. That means we got to dial. When it's 911, you know it's an emergency, right? Anybody else? What does it mean to be desperate? What does it mean to be in a desperate time? Can somebody else give me that? Anybody else on there? What does it mean to be in a desperate time? What is it? What do you call your level of desperation that's there? Or if you've been in a level of desperation, or you've seen someone that's been in a level of desperation, urgency. Let's see. I see emergency. I see urgency that's there. Absolutely. And those are absolutely great ones. I took the opportunity to look up desperate because I wanted to see what the dictionary said about being desperate as well. So I wanted to see, it says feeling or showing or involving a hopeless sense that a situation is so bad as to be impossible to deal with. Okay. Yep, Rosa. Yep, you're absolutely right. You just did it right there. As when you can't handle it, when you get into a desperate place, you're in a place of not being able to handle it by yourself, or at least feeling like you're not able to handle it by yourself. You're in an emergent situation, which ultimately changes what that situation is, or changes how you handle that situation. Hold on, let me see. Shauna said, being with a man that you sure don't want to be with, but them bills make you do something different. Okay, them bills can make you be in a desperate situation as well. Okay, that's a form of desperation also. So looking up the word desperation, we got urgency, we got hungry, we've got desperate measures for being with somebody that you really don't want to be with, but because you're desperate to have some things taken care of, you stay in the midst of a situation. So, and then I took the time out. I wanted to find out what measure meant, to measure something. So we got what desperate meant. Somebody tell me what you feel measurement, what it means to measure. Can anybody give me what it means to measure? I'm going to read what I have here, but I want to just see what you feel it means to measure, because those are two main words that I want to focus on tonight so that we understand where we are and that we're understanding what we're doing with where we are and what we're doing to where we are. Okay, so I want to see. Okay, Rosa said balance. Yvette said the amount of. Okay, absolutely. I like those as well. Let me see. I've got a couple of definitions for measure, and it says a certain the size, amount, or degree of something by using an instrument or a device marked in standard units, or by comparing it with any object or any known size. Let's see, a certain size or a certain proportion of something, to take an exact quantity or fixed amount of something. And then this was one that I like, an estimate or assessment to the extent, quality, value, or effect of something. Okay, so to measure something means that you are, for whatever the recipe is calling for. Somebody can get where I'm going now when I'm asking that question. Whatever the recipe is calling for, you have to give a measurement of what it's calling for. Say, for instance, if you're baking a cake or however, and in order to make that cake exactly the way that cake is supposed to be made for that particular type of cake, you have to put the exact measurements of flour or sugar or butter or egg or peaches or whatever it is that goes into that cake. If you happen to put too little, then you may get a cake, but it may not be the cake that you were talking about, or something in that cake may be a little bit imbalanced. If you put too much, you may have an overfill of what's going on. So if you give that exact measurement to whatever it is that you're making, then you can create something there for what your expected end is supposed to be. Okay, so if you give the right measure to of ingredient to that situation, your expected end is going to come out to what you want it to be. Okay, and we're talking about desperate times calling for a desperate measure. So when you say desperate times call for a desperate measure, you mean actions that might seem extreme under normal circumstances, but appropriate during an adversity. Okay, so when you're in a desperate place, normal actions don't work. Okay, when you're in a desperate place, the thing that you would normally do in a regular situation isn't going to work for this particular situation, because that means you got to up the level a little bit. You got to up the ante, as some people would say, a little bit, so that you can get to where you're trying to get to. And I know a lot of people often say, well, I don't know if I can give what this particular situation is calling for, but you can give it, because if you're in a place of, I'm tired, I've been doing this for so long that I don't know how much longer I can take it anymore. If you're in a place of, I'm stuck and I want to get out of this situation, but I can't get out of this situation right now. If you're in a place of, every step I take, every time I take one step forward, I get knocked back 3 steps. If you're in that particular place, then you got to put forth a measure that's going to match the place that you in, that's going to change the actual situation. Okay, so this is what I'm saying here. If you are in those particular places that I just called out in the previous, and you still doing the normal thing that you've been doing, then that means your measure don't match. Okay, somebody say, my measure don't match. That means your measure don't match. So that means you need to go about and do something a little different that's going to cost you more. I'm not saying it's going to cost somebody else more, because it's not about them, because this is your situation. So you may be expecting somebody else to come in and step in and do something different for you. You may be expecting somebody else to come in and bail you out of whatever situation, but this measure needs to come from you. It's going to cost you more, so that you can get what you need, and put in what you need, so that you can get out of it what you need, so you can make it to that expected end that you're trying to get to. And we're all trying to get to an expected end, right? So these desperate times is causing for these desperate measures, which means I may not know how to put all of this extra in that I have to put in, or add to what I need to add to with it. But I know it's necessary, and I know it's needed in order for me to get to the place that I'm trying to get to. So that's what I'm trying to tell everybody on tonight. Make sure that you are readily prepared to put in these measures. Put in these measures that you need, because now is not the time to give in. Now is not the time to cave in and quit. Now is not the time to give up. Now is not the time to say, you know what, I'm gonna throw the right flag and it's just gonna be. Now is not the time for that, because if your situation, Andy, has up, then you got to do what it takes to match that, because you're right on the edge of your breakthrough. You're right on the edge of getting to where you wanted to be. You're right on the edge of what you've prayed for. You're right at the edge of that. And all it takes is just a little bit more and you can't be in the place where you want to give it up, because you feel like, I've been doing it too long and I just can't give it no more. I've been in it too long and I just can't do no more. I've been trying so hard, but everything I've tried is seeming to fail. You got to come out of that state, and you got to grab a hold to all those things you've done and put all of that stuff inside of your ball, or inside of your cup of measure, and you got to keep on adding, and you got to keep on pouring. And as you add on top of that confidence, as you add on top of that power, as you add on top of that strength, on top of everything else that you've already done, and then you put that measure in that helps you go a little bit further today, that helps you go a little bit further tomorrow. Okay, so the enemy wants you to believe that that you're defeated. The enemy wants you to believe that nobody wants whatever it is that you have. The enemy wants you to believe that no matter what you've done or what you've gone through thus far, you're going to always be stuck right here. He wants you to believe that all your hard work and everything that you've done up to this far is gone away. So it don't matter. You ain't got to keep on doing that, because you ain't going to make it no way. It don't matter. You ain't got to keep on loving on him or hugging on him. He ain't going to be no good no way. It don't matter. You ain't got to keep on trying and working that business, because ain't nothing going to go right in that business no way, because you shouldn't have never started it anyway. You trying to do something different from what everybody else doing. You trying to be something different from what everybody else doing. You going to stay the same norm that you've always been. Baby, let me tell you, desperate times is causing for desperate measures. And we are coming to serve notice on the enemy that it don't matter what you say. It don't matter what you do. It don't matter how you come or what you add. My desperate time will get my desperate measure, because I have an expected end. And I expect to be exactly what God said I was going to be when I make it to the end of this destination, or when I make it to the end of this journey. I will not give up. I will not cave in. I will not quit, because I'm on a mission for something great for me. I'm on a mission for something great for me. And that mission that you're on for something great for you is in turn going to be a blessing to all that you come in contact with. Is in turn going to be a blessing to everybody you touch, everybody you speak to, everybody you come in contact with. You got to be determined not to give this thing up. As desperate as your time get, you got to be just as desperate to go forth and give it a measure. Okay? You got to have a desperate measure of can't quit. You got to have a desperate measure of not going to give up. You got to have a desperate measure of that strength, as I said before. You got to have a desperate measure of that confidence. You got to have a desperate measure of faith. You got to have a desperate measure of whatever you need. Whatever you need. Somebody say, I don't know what to apply, what measure of what I need to apply. You need to know what you need so you can know what to apply. Where are you in your desperate situation so that you can know what to apply? And if it take all of that I just said and some, then you need to apply all of that that's in there. All of that that's in there, okay? And these are some tips and pointers that I want to talk to you about, and that I want to tell you about while you're in these desperate times, that I need to make sure you know and understand. Don't think that life is just picking on you because you're going through. No, baby, life is not picking on you. Somebody say, well, every time I'm always going through something. I'm always dealing with something. I'm always faced with some type of, why is it that this one over here life get to be like this, and my life always got to be like this? Listen to me. If you're living, you faced a hard time before. And I guarantee you, and I'm going to use my words like my grandma used to say, if you keep on living, baby, you're going to face another one. Okay, so it's not anything about life picking on you or that you're the unlucky one, or I hear sometimes some people say I'm the black sheep of the family or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. Sometimes if you look at it, there may be so much greatness on the inside of you that the enemy wants to make you think that way to keep you from knowing and understanding how powerful you are, because you're a world changer. Yes, indeed. He wants to make you not believe that you are who God said you are, because you are a world changer. And if you're changing worlds, then you're pulling people away from him. You're pulling people out of these negative zones. You're pulling people out of these negative places. You're pulling people out of these hard mental spaces and things like that. If you get to recognize who you are, and if you get to recognize how you can apply these measures to your area of desperation. He don't want you to know who you are, because you're powerful in who you are. So life is not picking on you. Be positive and ask the question, what do I need to learn from these situations? What do I need to learn from this place of what I'm going through and what I'm dealing with? And I'll go as far as even to break it down like this. When we were in school, and some of us still may even be in school now, but I remember when we were in school, we had these big books, and this book was full of chapters, different chapters, and we would start in certain places in those chapters for wherever the teacher wanted us to start at. And as we were going through the chapter, when we made it to the end of the chapter, there was always a test. At the end of the chapter, always a test. There was always usually some FAQs that was there, and something that would give us some refreshers and stuff like that. But then there was a test at the end of the chapter that was quizzing us on what we had learned. Okay. And once we took the test and everything, you had to make a certain percentage in order to pass. And before we could move on to the next chapter, you had to pass this test. Okay. And then here's the thing, because I know you've heard that story before about passing the test once you finish a chapter. But this is the thing that God showed me. When we move on to the next chapter, that's where the complaints come in at. Because we move on to the next chapter and you find out that the next chapter is harder than the previous chapter. Oh my goodness. You find out that the next chapter is a little bit harder than the previous chapter. And then so because you don't want to go through the next chapter, you sit right there and just look at the chapter, the first page, and you just complain about, man, I don't even want to do this. I don't even know why I went through the last part, because now here I got to go through this part too. This just ain't even gonna never end. It's just, I'm just in this place right here. And you think that because there is a new chapter, that is something where it's life picking on you, because now you've passed one test and you've come out of this one place and you've made it out of that place successful, and now you're going over into another chapter and you thinking, woe is me. Woe is me. But listen to me when I say this. If you apply what you learned from the previous chapter, the beginning of the first chapter is probably going to be fairly easy, because you're probably going to be redoing some of what was in the previous chapter. But if you continue to keep reading in that chapter that you're going through, if you continue to keep studying, everything that you need to pass this chapter is in the chapter. Everything that you need to pass this chapter is in the chapter. So the problem is, and hear me when I say this, I think somebody got it, because I can hear somebody saying, woo, the problem is that we won't go through. You won't go through the chapter. You stuck on the first page because you upset that you've got another chapter after you've come out of the previous chapter. But the problem is that you don't want to go through this next chapter, and understanding and knowing that it is for your good and it is for your benefit. That's why I'm saying to you, ask God what it is that you need to learn from this going through. Ask what is this what is the intention for me? What do I need to learn? Because 9 times out of 10, and this is what I want you to understand here, if you, whatever it is that you're facing and whatever it is that you're dealing with, it's not, well, here's what I'm trying to say. It's not about what you go through. It's about how you go through it that determines where you end up coming out at. And this is where the application of the measure comes in, guys. The application of the measure comes in on your how you're going through. If you stand in the one place and you're complaining about going through, but you're not really going through, then you're not getting anywhere. You're not learning anything, and you're drowning out everything that you need to get from it, because you're constantly stuck on the fact that you have to go through the chapter, not because the chapter is there. Okay. The lesson is in the chapter. Absolutely, Rosa. You're going through your life. Absolutely. The lesson is in the chapter. You got to go through the chapter. And not only that, but there's hints I remember reading those books in those chapters. There were highlighted words that was there that would give us hints of the things that would be on the test. Oh my God, that is so good. There's hints that was there that would give you there were highlighted words and highlighted sentences and paragraphs and things like that that would give you hints to what would be on the test. If you go ahead and go through the chapter, you're going to get those hints and things like that there that's going to help you when the test comes. But you got to go ahead and go through so you can know what measure to apply when that test comes to you. That's good. I don't know. Somebody tell me if it's good or not. So don't be stuck in your complaints. Don't be stuck in the negativity of thinking that you're going through because woe is me and this is life and this has been my life all my life and all these what I'm saying to you is go ahead and go through, because there is benefits for you in the chapter. There's growth for you in the chapter. There's information for you in the chapter. So don't just think that life is picking on you. Don't just think that things are happening to you because you're a magnet for negativity and you're a magnet for destruction. No, that is not true. No, ma'am. No, sir. That is not true. Life is probably happening, or I'll say the things in the chapter is happening because these are lessons for you to learn. These are lessons for you to learn, and you need to ask, what are these lessons that I need to learn? Okay. The next thing that you need to do is learn to trust the journey even when you don't understand it. Learn to trust the journey even when you don't understand it, because the journey is going to always, you're going to always be going through life. Okay. You're going to always be going through life. You're going to always, the day is going to come whether you sleep or not. The night is going to come whether you sleep or not. The day is going to come whether you rise or not. So the days are going to keep on going, okay? So life is going to keep on being there. So when you're constantly growing, there's going to be growing pains. When you're constantly growing, there's going to be things that's going to happen. As I said before, there will be obstacles that you must face. But in every obstacle that you're facing, it is going to be calling out something about you. Ask that question. What about you is it that you need to face? These obstacles that are coming, 9 times out of 10, the hard parts for you are the parts of you that you don't want to deal with. Are the parts of you that you want to put on the burner, on the backside, and say, no, I don't want to deal with that part of me today. I just want to go on ahead and stay beeline right here. And I'm not never going to learn. I don't want to learn anything about me today. I just want to know why I keep going through what I'm going through. I just want to know, can somebody tell me why the Lord keep allowing me to keep dealing with the things that I'm dealing with? Why the Lord keep allowing me to keep going through the things that I'm going through? And what God is trying to do is he's trying to show you you. Because if you don't change in the obstacles that you're going through, you're going to continue to keep going through these same cycles. You're going to continue to keep going through these same things. You're going to continue to keep dealing with these same things because you have not looked at you in the mirror to say, okay, we got to fix this. And here's what's the amazing thing, and I feel like I need to say this to somebody, and this is on the female side. It's amazing how you look in the mirror before you put your makeup on, and you can look at every area in your face as to what you need to cover up. Oh my goodness. You can look at every area in your face as to what you need to cover up, where I need to apply highlight here, where I need to put this here. Oh, I need to get this brow just like this. Oh, I need to do this just like that. Oh, I need to put this just right here. Oh, I need to do. It's amazing how you know how to fix that up to where it needs to be because you know where the flaws are. You know what you see as flaws anyway. We may not see those things as flaws, but it's where you see the flaws at because only you know you, like you know you. Okay. But it's where you see your flaws are and you put this stuff in place. But when it comes to seeing the inner you, we can dress up the outside all the time. But when it comes to seeing the inner you, you see what needs to be done, but you won't address it and you want to fix it. You won't fix it so that you can be a better you. It's easy to apply cover up. And it's easy to apply makeup because that's a temporary fix to a permanent something that's there. But in this particular case, we don't want to apply cover up to our spirits. We don't want to apply cover up to those things that need to change with us emotionally and mentally, those things that need to change there. How is it that we can see these blemishes and we can see these flaws and things like that here, quickly apply so that we can appear to be flawless? But then those things on the inside, we continue to leave them where they at, and they continue to grow, and they continue to even, some things even is molding over and grabbing funguses and things like that, because it's infiltrating so much of you and taking away so much of you because you don't want to fix it. And I said, not just not want to fix it, but don't want to face it. Don't want to face it. And that's the part where you have to understand obstacles and cycles keep coming because we haven't learned from them. And we need to be able to learn from. And that goes back to what we were talking about with that chapter in school. If you don't pass that test, guess what? You got to take it again. And if you don't pass that test, guess what? You got to take it again. And eventually you're going to get a big fat F after so many tries, because the teacher will end up probably getting tired and saying, okay, you just hadn't got it. So you can't actually move on to the next chapter because you have not passed this area here. So why, and listen to me when I say this, why continue to keep going through the same chapter over and over again? All that work that you're going through that same chapter over and over again, only to get to the end and not pass the test. Why not apply what needs to be applied to you so that you can move out those things that need to go, pull in those things that need to stay, and then amplify and magnify those things that are there so that it can help you fight through the next chapter? Don't go through it all for nothing. Don't keep dealing with it all for nothing. If you're saying, woe is me, and every time I turn around, I keep going through. If you're saying, woe is me, this is a desperate time for you. Your desperate time is you dealing with you. So you need to apply that desperate measure, which is what it's going to take for you to see you for who you are, so you can apply those particular changes that need to take place so that you can be a better you for you. That we back on that bay now, before all else, so that you can be a better you for you. That's what I want to make sure that you guys are doing. So we don't want to complain about going through, and we don't want to complain about the things that we're dealing with and things like that, when all we need to do is just go through. All we need to do is just go through. And again, what we was just talking about with when you're growing and when you're going through different things and when you're hitting those different obstacles, those obstacles calling out those things in you that need to change. Those obstacles, because the first thing we say is, why, as I was saying earlier, why am I dealing with this hard time? Why am I going through these situations? But it's, again, because we're dealing with those things that's on the inside of us. I mean, look at it. If we're feeling like we're going through something, it's because we feel like we can't handle it. We feel like we can't handle those particular things. But what puts us in those particular places that makes us feel like we can't handle it? Think about the normal routines of life: cooking, cleaning, doing the laundry, car, going to work, all those kind of things. Look at all those particular things, those natural things that happen in life that we just get up and do. Sometimes it's robotic. It's like clockwork, that we get up and do those things. And those simple things that we're used to doing, we do it without a problem. But soon as a hard time hit, we get to a place and we say, oh my Lord, why am I dealing with this? Why am I going through this, God? Why is this happening to me? At one point in time before, getting a job could have been a hard place, but you mastered that. At one time before, getting a car could have been a hard place, but you mastered that. At one point in time, going to school could have been a hard place, but you mastered that. At one point in time, something in your life could have been a hard place, but you mastered that and you conquered it and you got over it. And then you now move to the next level of what you have to master. The reason why we look at it as a hard time, the reason why we look at it as a hard situation that we're dealing with and going through, because we haven't mastered it yet, because we haven't gone through it. In order to become a master, you got to go through it. You got to see yourself there on the other side. You got to get enough gusto in you, enough measure in you to say, I'm not going to go through this spot again. I'm not going to deal with this again, but I am going to apply what I need to apply so that I can make it through this, and not only make it through this, but so that I can make it through this on top. I'm not just going to make it through just to make it through, but I'm going to make it through on top, and it's going to be all right. The reason why we see it as a hard time is because we hadn't made it through it yet. And the other reason why we see it as a hard time, and I'm going to go ahead and grab somebody when I get this one, is because we don't want to go through it. You don't want to go through it. Not only have you not made it through it, but you don't want to go through it. But the only way to get through it is to go through it, guys. The only way to get through it is to go through it. Desperate time is calling for a desperate measure where you usually stop in your tracks when certain situations rise, where you usually walk away and say, I ain't about to deal with this, where you usually close people off and shut people down and say, I'm not about to talk about it no more, where you usually, but you end up facing it again because you usually turn away and not deal with it. This is the time where you apply the desperate measure that's necessary so you don't have to visit this place again. So you don't have to visit this place again. If you are tired of being here, if you are tired of dealing with this, if you saying, I don't like this place and I don't want to be in this place no more, then apply what you need to apply in the measurement that you need to apply it in so that you can get to where you want to be. You got to do it. There's your answer right there. You got to do it. Somebody say, well, I don't know what to apply, because I know I got some people coming in here. I don't know what to apply. Let me tell you something. Find out what it is that you need. Find out, because that's your desperate measure. You may not know today, but find out. My goodness. And I'm going to put it right here. Somebody say, I don't know how to find out. But here's what's amazing to me. Let me show you that you can find out. I'm just going to put it like this. When you are looking for somewhere to go, you know what restaurant you want to go to, but you don't know exactly where that restaurant is. What's the first thing you do? I heard everybody say it. Google. You go to Google and you search it out to find out where, because you are determined to get to that restaurant because you want some wings, or because you want a burger, or because you want pizza, or because you want a steak. But you're determined to get there. So you do what you have to do with your phone and you type that restaurant in and you Google it. And you don't stop right there once you Google it and Google pulls up that restaurant, but you click on it. And you make sure that it's the right restaurant. And then not only do you click on it, then you go over to directions and you click on directions and you get those directions to show you where you need to go to get to that restaurant, to get to the comfort place that you want to be, which is having that meal. Why can't you apply that to life? Why can't you apply that to life? When you say, I don't know what to apply, then find it. Find what you need to apply. Connect yourself with somebody that can help you with you, but somebody that wants to see you elevate. Not for somebody who wants to see you be stagnant, but with somebody who wants to see you elevate and go higher and do things. And you need to be able to listen to someone tell you about you. Because when you got people in your life that'll tell you about you, I look at people like that in my life as sharpeners for me. They sharpen my sword. Those people sharpen my sword. Hey, Trisha, how you doing, babe? They sharpen my sword. Those people sharpen. I don't mind anybody sharpen my sword because I don't want to be dull in the moment when I should be sharp. Because if you're dull in the moment when you should be sharp, you miss out on a whole lot of stuff. And when you're sharp, you have the strength to cut through all of those things that don't need to be in your life. To cut through the woods, cut through the trees, cut through the limbs, cut through the high grass, to cut through all of those weeds and wiles and things like that out of your life so that you don't have to be forced with the cuts and scrapes and bruises that comes with all of that stuff being in your path. Okay? So please make sure you understand that you have to apply that desperate measure, and don't worry about it being a hard time. Don't complain about it being a hard time. Just go ahead and go through. Go ahead and go through. It's gonna be it's gonna be all right. At the end of the day, it's going to be all right. You just got to go through. You're scared right now. We can help our babies go through when they're scared to do something, and we show them that it's nothing to be afraid of. This is what you have to do for you so that you show yourself that there's nothing to be afraid of. Just apply that desperate measure. And that's my next point also. But go ahead and apply that desperate measure that's there. Okay? We want to make sure that, and let me say this as well. Everybody wants it easy. We all want it easy. Everybody would like for things to be easy for them. Something that they don't have to work hard for. Something that they don't have to give up so much for, and things like that. But think about it in this sense. If it was easy, you wouldn't work for it. If it was easy, you really wouldn't work for it, because it's just coming to you just like that. And if you don't work for it, you don't appreciate it. And if you don't appreciate it, you're not going to hold on to it. And if you're not going to hold on to it, then you lose it. And I know the God I serve is not a wasteful God. So this is part of the reason why we work for a lot of the things that we have. Don't get me wrong. Some things don't have to be worked for. Some things are handed to us by our loved ones and our ancestors and people that are in our lives that want us to have these things. But oftentimes they give us these things because they see how hard we're working for where we're trying to get to and for where we're trying to go. And they want to help make things a little easier for us because they see you out there doing what you're doing. So this is what I'm saying. It's not going to be easy always. You got to get out there and be willing to work for it, but you have a greater appreciation when you go out there and you work for those things. And it helps you learn how to apply desperate measures in the midst of desperate situations. Every situation is not going to be a desperate one, and you won't have to apply a desperate measure to it. But when you come to those desperate situations, you'll be able to apply those desperate measures, and you'll be able to assess and see how much is needed to be applied so that you can come out with a balance, or you can come out with the expected end that you're wanting to. And I can hear a lot of people saying that I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm really, really scared to tackle this thing. I'm really, really scared to approach it. I'm fearful of what might be. And let me say this to you: it's natural to be afraid. It's natural to fear. Because especially if you're heading into uncharted territories, it's natural. It's the same thing. Just like, if you're going swimming and you hadn't touched the water yet. If you don't know how to swim, you're gonna be afraid more than likely to get in that water. But if you see like the babies do that, they don't care. They don't know nothing about whether or not I know how to swim or not. A lot of them little toddlers, if you don't catch them, they're going to go jump dive right in, and they're going to do whatever they got to do. Or they know that they have a parent that's with them that's going to come get them and pull them out if anything happens. It's okay to be afraid, but don't be so afraid that you don't move. Don't be so afraid that you don't go. Don't be so afraid that you don't apply. Don't be so afraid that you give up, cave in, and quit because you're too afraid to go and get what God has for you, because you're too afraid to run toward your expected end. Don't be so afraid that it stops you in your tracks and you say that I can't do this. I can't apply this. I can't put forth the changes that I need to put forth for me because I'm afraid to be great. I'm afraid that I'm going to make it. I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. I'm afraid that people might laugh at me. I'm afraid that, something may happen that may not come out the way I want it to come out. It doesn't matter what the fear is. This is what I say to you. Run toward it. Run toward the fear. Run toward it, face it head on. Whatever it is that you have to do, run toward the fear. And I guarantee you, as you are running toward the fear, the process as you're running to it, the fear is going to fall off. As you see that this is a little easier than what I thought it was, oh my, the fear is going to start falling off. As you see that, oh my, I got more strength than I thought I had, the fear is going to start to fall off. As you see, oh my, look, it is brighter down here than I thought it was. What I thought was a dark tunnel is actually a whole lot of light down here, and the fear is going to start falling off because we often fear. You think something else is down there when it's actually not what it is. It could be some great things that's down there for you. Doesn't mean that you may not have to jump some hurdles as you run it. Doesn't mean that you may not have to dodge some stones in the way while you're running. Doesn't mean that you won't take some curves while you're running. But what it means is that as you're still running, you're looking towards your expected end. Listen, I ran track and I loved running track. But one of the things that we did not focus on was where we were on the track. But we focused on the finish line. That was our goal. That was what my coach taught me. Focus on that finish line. That's where you're trying to get to. So however many hurdles you got to jump, baby. You see them hurdles right there. You huff them. You come up and you come over them. But you see that finish line because that's where you're trying to get to. You don't worry about what's in between because God is going to take care of you as you're going through and as you're dealing with those different situations that's there, as you're learning through the process, as you're learning you through the process. All these things are being taken care of. So don't allow fear to stop you from living life because, again, as I said earlier, the night is going to come whether you go to sleep or not. The day is going to come whether you go to sleep or not. And life is going to keep on going whether you go through or not. So why stay in one place as life is passing you by when you can go on ahead and go through? and not waste any more of your time and keep taking yourself through these same cycles over and over again, you can go ahead and move forward and move on and continue the chapter as you continue to go through. Continue the chapter and make your way to that test and learn as you're going through the chapter. Don't just slip by just to slip by and say, I'm going to copy off of somebody else's paper, because see, you don't know what they went through over there on that side. Don't try to mimic what somebody else doing over there on that side as they going through their test, because you may be trying to mimic what they did, and that's probably why it's not working for you. Don't try to copy off somebody else's paper when it get down to the test part, because you got to learn what you got to learn to get to your test so that you can apply everything you learned to your test. Okay, to your test. So make sure you know and understand what to apply when you're applying that desperate measure. Remember what I was saying about find it. Find out what it is. Find out what you need to apply to that desperate measure, okay? All right, Miss Isha, how you doing, love? Thank you so much for coming in. I'm so excited about tonight. If this is good to y'all, somebody say it's good. Somebody say it's good, because it's really, really good to me. It is so good to me. And then here's another thing. Talking to those who have their businesses and things like that, and may be afraid to move forward, may be afraid to go the extra mile or do the extra thing, or you feel like you've been in business and stuff like that for so long and your business isn't as productive as it's been, or you feel like you may have hit the wrong thing, or you may have did the wrong thing or something like that. Let me say this to you, because I heard this earlier as well. God didn't give you the vision without first giving you the provision as well. He's not going to give you a vision to go forth and do something. If this is a God thing that God told you to do, he's not going to tell you to go and do something and not provide what you need to get those things done. We just have to understand and know and remember that these things, we have to work these things as well. This is something, this is where my area comes in as well, because you have to make sure you put in what needs to be put in. And please know and understand that the seeds that you sowed yesterday, they still growing. Yes, yes, yes. They still growing. The seeds that you sowed yesterday, the seeds that you sowed last year, those seeds are still growing. Harvest time is coming, baby. So you keep on holding on and you keep on hanging in there. Harvest time is coming. That's the part that I was saying earlier. The enemy wants you to think that this thing ain't working. He's trying to make you go crazy in the silence because you ain't hearing nothing. But no, baby. That's time. God said, just be patient. I got you. I got you. And then when we get to that place, you're going to be able to laugh and eat at the table of those who said you weren't going to make it, or those who said you weren't going to do it, or those who said it was going to falter. He going to fix that thing. So you hang in there and you hold on. Don't give up. You keep moving. You keep on doing those things that you're doing. And as you're in your desperate place, apply what needs to be applied right now in that moment so that you can get the proper measurement that you need as you're going to your expected end. Okay, so, and this is the other thing that, and let me point this one out too. With Moses, when Moses was told by God to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let his people go, Moses thought of everything he could think of to say that he wasn't equipped and to say that he wasn't ready. Now, in Moses's heart, listen to me, in Moses's heart, he wanted his people free. God heard it. God felt, because you know how the Bible tells us he gives us the desires of our heart. He heard it. He felt what Moses wanted and what Moses wanted. And he chose him to go and to tell him to let my people go. And Moses said, but what about my speech? How am I supposed to go? I don't talk well. I don't do that part well. So how am I supposed to go and do that? God said, don't worry about that, because I'm the author of all of those things. He said, well, what am I supposed to tell him? Who am I supposed to say is sending me? He said, tell him that I am. This is what I'm saying to you. If it's been on your heart, God is giving you a vision to open something, to do something, to move something, to go back to school, to do a daycare, or whatever it is that God has laid it upon your heart to do. Go for it and run with it. Don't ask him or say, I don't feel like I'm ready. I feel like I got to have this done. I got to have that done. I got to do that. And part of the reason that we do that is because we see the already established businesses all over, and you see all of the stuff that they have, and it makes you feel like you're not ready to do those things. But it makes you think about that you're an ant amongst giants. But let me tell you something. You are not an ant amongst giants. You're a giant amongst those giants as well. And if for those that try to get in your way, you become a giant slayer. I don't know who this is for, but I feel like I need to say this to somebody. Don't give up and cave in and quit on what God has told you to do. You keep on going, you keep on running, you keep on moving, because it is for you to do it. Don't try to take it and give it to somebody else either. It's not for them to do it. He told you to do it. So don't try to take it and give it to somebody else. You listen to him and hear him, and you take your plan and you do what it is that this is your desperate measure. This is your desperate time as you're in your to give your desperate measure for what it is that he has told you to do and for what it is that he's called you to do. Okay? And then listen to this. Even when those desperate times came up for Moses, God showed him that he had everything that he needed with him to handle those desperate situations when the enemy came. Oh my goodness. When the enemy came, when Pharaoh came and came with all of these different things, everything Moses needed was right there with him. Right there with him. He ain't have to go call nobody. He ain't have to go get nobody. He ain't have to go buy a whole bunch of these. He ain't have to go do a whole bunch of this. He said, what you need is in your hands. What you need is in your hands. What you need is on the inside of you. What you need to get to where you need to get to is on the inside of you. Your desperate measure is on the inside of you. Build it up. Pull it up, fix it up, and pour it out wherever you need to pour it out to, so that you can get that great cake that we were talking about earlier. So that you can get that great cake that we were talking about. Let it be what it is, and put that measure there that you need to put there. My next point here: the pain of going through is temporary, but quitting is forever. I'll say that again. The pain of going through is temporary, but quitting is forever. You're not going to be going through this for long, baby. You're not going to be dealing with this for long. So please understand, don't let your right now dictate what your end is going to be. Don't give up. Don't cave in and quit in this right now moment. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's hard. Yes, I've been dealing with it for a while. Yes, I know. I know. But this is not the time to give up, cave in, and quit. Because you have gone through so much, because you have dealt with so much. You did not come this far to give up right now. You did not come this far to cave in and quit. No, absolutely. You cannot copy off of others' tests. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Rosa. God will assign a different test. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But you did not come this far to turn around. You did not. You did not come this far to quit. You did not come this far to throw in the towel and to lay down and say, enough is enough. I give up. Because listen to me, another test is going to come. Another situation is going to come, and you still going to have to go through that as well. You can't give up and cave in and quit through every one of them. You got to go on and go through and see what the end is going to be. Okay? Again, don't let your right now cause you to lose your expected end. When you're in a desperate place, you got to go to that desperate measure and make sure that your measure match your desperation. My goodness. Make sure your measure match your desperation, because sometimes in a cake, a pinch goes here and a pinch goes there. Sometimes they want a tablespoon here and a tablespoon there. Sometimes they want a cup here and a cup there. But if you put a pinch where a cup needs to be, you ain't gonna, it's not going to apply. It's not going to apply. If you put a teaspoon where a tablespoon needs to be, it's not going to apply. So you need to make sure that your measure matches your desperation. Put in what needs to go in there and apply it, and keep on applying it, and keep on applying it, because giving up is not an option. Quitting is not an option. Throwing in the towel is not an option. I'm not even giving any more excuses. Excuses is not an option. Talk to yourself and tell yourself, snatch yourself up. You hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying? Snatch yourself up and say, we're going to apply this measure, and we're going to do what we got to do, because I'm expecting my W at the end. I'm expecting my win at the end. I'm expecting to get to my expected end. Desperate times is causing for desperate measures. And this is the part that I want you to focus on, because a lot of people focusing on the desperate time. I don't want you to focus on the desperate time. I need you to focus on the desperate measure. Because that's what the important part is. That goes back to what I was saying before. It's not about what you go through, desperate time, but it's how you go through it, desperate measure. Okay? I'm going to say it again. It's not what you go through, desperate time, but it's how you go through it, desperate measure. Don't put in a pinch when you know you need a cup. And don't put in a cup when you know you need a gallon. And don't put in a gallon when you know you need a whole bathtub of it. Okay? So you got to put in what's necessary to put in to bring about the change that you want. To bring about the change that you want to get to your expected end. Make sure it applies well. Make sure if it takes reapplication, keep applying. Don't just apply it once, but keep applying and hold fast to it. Once you set that standard, once you put it there, hold fast to it and don't let it go. This desperate time is causing for a desperate measure. You're not done yet. You got to carry on. You got to find that way to rise up. Don't stay sitting right there in that seat wondering when somebody gonna come along and fish you out the river. You got what it takes to get yourself out. Yes, you do. You have what it takes to get yourself out. And you do what you have to do to get to that place so that you can get yourself out. You in the water now already, baby. You might as well go ahead and swim. Don't just sit there in the water and just flap in it. You already in there, so you might as well go ahead and swim. You might as well, if you're in the water, go ahead and apply your measure is swim. Go ahead and swim. You can't drink it all. So you might as well go ahead and swim. Okay? And if somebody said I can't swim, doggy paddle. Everybody can get that doggy paddle on. But whatever you do, sinking is not an option. Drowning is not an option. You in the water, you need to either swim, you need the doggy paddle, and you just need to keep moving. Keep moving is key. Okay? Keep moving is key. And I know somebody may say, I've been pouring out so much. I've been giving so much. I've been doing so much. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I understand that. Do what you have to do to refurbish yourself, replenish yourself. Stand under. Remember where I said sometimes you got to pour into you? Stand in that mirror and do whatever you have to do to pour into you. Talk to yourself and tell yourself that you are great. Tell yourself you're wonderful. Tell yourself you're fantastic. Tell yourself you're strong enough to do this. Tell yourself you have the power to do this. Tell yourself you got the mindset to do this. You can do the research. You can go through the chapters. You can do whatever it takes to get you to where you need to be. But what you don't need to do is cave in, give up, and quit, because you've gone through too much. You've come too far, and you've put in way too much to turn around now. You to let somebody else or to let the enemy come in and take it away from you. And I put it in this term as I'm preparing to close this out here. As I put it in this term, if you put money in the bank every day, you put money in the bank, and you've gotten up to, at the end of the year, you've gotten up to, let's just say $100,000. After you put money in the bank, it's $100,000 in there, and you say, I'm tired. I ain't putting no more money in the bank. I'm done putting money in the bank. Whoever want it can have. How many people gonna say after all of that you put in the time? Oh, look at all the work you did to make the money, number one, and then the time that you're taking to put it in the bank, number two, and you're only gonna go through all of that so somebody else can reap the benefits, or so that the enemy can come in and take it away from you. I believe not, because you know what you've done to get to that place. And you want to reap the harvest. You want to reap the reward. So you continue to apply that desperate measure. You continue to apply that desperate measure in your desperate time. And it don't matter how many desperate times you have. You need to know that you have to apply the desperate measure. And I guarantee you, if you continue, as I said earlier, if you go through the previous chapter, and you pass the test. If you've gone through the previous chapter and you've passed the test, then go ahead and apply what you've learned as you go over into the next chapter. And that's going to help you get through number one. But then as you're going through the next chapter and you're studying up and you're getting what it is that you need, you can apply that when you get to that test as well. Anywhere you go and anything you do, as you're going to a new level, there's always going to be a new devil. As you're going to new dimensions, however it is that you go, there's always going to be some type of something there that's going to try to distract you and take you away, or take your mindset away from what is rightfully yours, because the enemy doesn't want to see you get to those places. So something is always going to be there. That's why you have to apply the necessary measure. Desperate times, guys, calls for desperate measures. Even if you're heading in uncharted territories, places that you've never been in, places that you've never seen, places that you've never done, don't allow that to stop you from doing what you're doing, because you're going higher. God is taking you higher. He's doing great things with you. And as he's doing those great things with you, you're learning in the process on how to go through. He's equipping you as he's taking you through those places, because he's setting you up for a higher place. So as you go through all those things down here, when you get up here, you're going to be good and ready. Not just ready, but you're going to be good and ready. So go ahead and go through. Remember, see you in the obstacles that's happening and that's taking place, in the obstacles that's coming. See you. See what about you that needs to change. See what you need to learn about you. Maybe I'm not so nice. Maybe I do pop off at the mouth real quick. Maybe I do say too many cuss words. Come on, somebody. Maybe I do cuss a little bit too much. See what part of you that needs to change. What is it that God is showing you about you that's making you feel like you're in a hard time? Make the necessary adjustment and apply the necessary measure so that you can go ahead and be great for your next chapter. Desperate times is calling for desperate measures, guys. I hope and pray that this was a wonderful lesson to you all on tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for chiming in. Thank you so much for all of the messages that you've placed in as well. I want to bring a highlight and a note to our situation station. The Hey Bae Show has a situation station. Hey, Rhonda, how you doing, babe? The Hey Bae Show has a situation station. You can send us in messages. You can send us in letters. And I call them messages. Nobody, actually like writes them anymore and mail them. But you can inbox us at the Hey Bae Show on Facebook, and you can also inbox me at the Lakeisha Goo Bailey page as well. We do have a YouTube page, the Hey Bae Show, on YouTube. Also, you can put us in messaging and comments if you have a particular topic that you like, or questions that you like to talk about. You can see a example of a letter that was sent to us last week when we talked about cheating in the next room. So definitely send us over something. I'd love to hear your feedback and your information there as well. Also, if you have businesses and things like that you would like to be highlighted on the show, I'll be more than happy to highlight those businesses as well. I saw we had Miss Rosa in the room, who is preparing to sell or rent out, let me say, her 360 camera that's there. So she's going to send over some information for that. She did put it in the last one, but once she gets that set up, she'll have that information there for you guys. So anybody's having parties, family reunions, all that kind of good stuff, that 360 camera is great for that. I think I just want one for me as I walk around all over the place and let it snap pictures. But again, if you have any business, if you have a business that you'd like to highlight, I would love to talk about your business on our show as well. I love you all, and I thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember, you are bae, and that's before all else. You can't be good for you, for anybody else, if you're not good for you. You can't take care of anybody else if you're not taking care of you. We want you whole, we want you healthy, and we want you in love, okay? Thank you so much again. Y'all have a fantastic night. Love you, bae. Signing off.